Well, let's go ahead and jump into this episode of the podcast. This one is a special episode because there's no games to recap. However, I do have a very special guest on for this week. It is none other than my head coach, Coach Todd Franklin. He's a Hall of Fame coach in the NJCAA. Got his coaching starting with uh, Missouri Rolla and Austin P, and then went to SIC and now Vincennes. Coach Franklin, thank you so much for joining me.
Good to be here, Justin.
So, Coach, let's just go ahead and jump into what your experience was with the district with SIC.
Well, about as experienced as you can be. I was in the district for, what was it? Every year but two. I mean, I've been in this is my 27th year. So there was 2 years when I came to Vincennes when we were not in the district. But prior to that, I'd always been at SIC and my head coaching career. And then obviously we got back in it at Vincennes. So we're now year 25 or 27 in the district. So that's about as experienced as you want to be, I think.
What has that kind of tournament been like for you going into both at SIC and Vincennes?
The tournament?
Yeah.
Tournament play, man. It's wild. You never know what's going to happen. We're not in the greatest situation right now, the tournament, because we're the farthest distance to get to it. And now that it is every day right in a row, we can't even go and stay overnight. So we're always 2+ hour trip there back. And over the course of, the week, from Monday to Friday, it's a challenge. It's a challenge for our fans. I wish there was some way we could get that adjusted to be a little bit more even for the guys that are over on our side, distance wise and et cetera. But, it is what it is. But tournament play, we've had our fair share of success over the years, obviously. But it's always tough playing these really good teams, really good coaches 3 times.
And what has been Vincennes' postseason? You said you were there for 2 years before. What was that kind of culture shock for you for Vincennes not having a set district or not being in the district to play and having to fly out?
Well, when we were going to Maryland, and when I was there, it was Maryland. It had been different things before, obviously, before I was head coach of Vincennes. But my experience was just going to Maryland, and that was, not a great experience. It wasn't something that, should be done. We didn't have games versus those guys during the year. We were, going across the country to play. We were seated basically, whatever they wanted to seat us. Practice times, whenever you got practice times, officials were, guys we didn't know, didn't see, didn't have any control of in any way, shape, or form. It obviously wasn't good, and be honest with you, the entire setup was going to be, eventually fatal because you couldn't schedule games without being able to play in district play. So, us being able to get back over in the district, because Ohio and Michigan had all where they had played historically had all moved Division II or Division III in JUCO or had eliminated. And so, really there was nowhere to go and play Division I opponents or play the best opponents possible, then go back over to Southern Illinois and get those games scheduled. So it was a must for us, and I think it was sort of the right thing from the national level. Because for us to be put in that position, it was really, really difficult. The 2 years that we did it, wouldn't want to do it again.
What was that process like to get Vincennes into the district, if you were privy to how that was brought in, or what was that kind of like?
I mean, I'm not gonna get into the nuts and bolts of it because I was, periphery of it, wasn't the one doing it, but there's national things involved. Something needed to be done, plain and simple. I don't think there's any way you could look at it and think it wasn't. We certainly weren't trying to gain advantage over somebody. We were trying to play the best teams possible. And with the only way you could do it in a regional level. So I think it was good. It's good for the district. At the end of the day, now you've got, with the way it is, that large burst and who you have to play in Division I opponents. I don't think it's hard to think that us being in doesn't help pull that up or help get the Division I games, and we're all going to be battling for that in the future. That gets tougher and tougher all the time. So if you want to really be a player and you're really trying to get to the national tournament and you're trying to be seated decently and you really are involved in trying to do those things, you got to get the best Division I opponents you can possibly get. That's just the way the system is set up, and so those things all help.
Talking Dave Hunter last week, he was describing how you guys had to schedule 30 games. I'm sure that being in the district has helped you with that round robin. First it was 18 games and now it's 16 games. What has the scheduling been like for you now that, especially with the new rule about certain amount of games of going D2 or club teams?
Well, the rule is there is not really anything they set and define, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to get into the upper 20s. Realistically, if you're talking about at large bursts, you're getting decent seeds when it comes to playing Division I games and certainly JUCO games. And give no credit at this point in time for JV or preps. And I don't think that's going to change. And you don't get as much credit for Division II or Division III, which sometimes, like last year, we played three of the best Division II teams in the country. Those were excellent games. Didn't get much credit for them. You can play, as it really sets, it looks like you probably play a bad Division I and get more credit than you can if you played those really, really good Division IIs. But, some of that's subjective behind the scenes. But basically, you got to get NJCAA games and you need to get as many Division I games as possible. And, the district plays great. The district's shrinking. We've lost two teams in the district, within the very recent past. And, Lewis and Clark and Southeastern, that's 4 games. And, we started out with 20 games basically in district play, and then now we're down to 16. And that sounds, well, you can go get games. Well, you got to get somebody who wants to play it. And you got to get them within, basically the same times, and everybody around the country is trying to get those games. There's really about 6 weeks because, Christmas break, most teams aren't going to play. So there's a window you can just cut out. And then when you're playing your district games throughout the year in that second half of the year, everybody else is as well. So basically you got about 6 weekends if you look at it. Because traveling distances in the middle week comes tough, and you got to really try to schedule somebody that's fairly close to you. Well, you're already playing them, so and everybody's competing for those same weekends that are the big boys that are trying to get to the tournament, and so it becomes very difficult. I mean, it's very difficult to put that schedule together. We were successful in doing that this year. We have 28 Division I games and 2 Division II games, and we play some great opponents in Indian Hills and Moberly and Monroe, and you go down the list. So our schedule met all the criteria. Every year though, it's going to be a challenge. And budgetary wise, it's tough. It's JUCO. It's hard to travel across the country and play games. You're not going to be flying, so time is hard. Travel cost is hard. So the people that have people in their area, say like Kansas has all these teams right there together. They have an advantage when it comes to that, because they're going to not have any problem getting those games. And so, that going in, you're battling some things. So, being in the district is key. The district is shrinking. If it continues to shrink, it gets tougher and tougher. Someday, or maybe, we may have to make some decisions and on, playing each other more than twice, if you can't get games, if the rules stay the same way, if we want to stay in where it's not just going to be the winner of the tournament goes and you don't get a very good seed. If you want to get good seeds and you're going to get multiple teams, you're going to have to play Division I opponents, and you're going to play mostly all Division I opponents, and you're going to have to play good ones, ranked ones. So it's one of the biggest challenges we have is putting that schedule together with your budget and the weekend availabilities and your geographics and all those things. So it'll be another challenge this year trying to put it together.
And we were talking with all that kind of answers the question of what coaching in junior college compared to Division II or Division I is like, with travel restrictions and all that. I joined the Vincennes team in 2011. We had a good team. That was your second year there. What was that kind of like, having to build a whole new team, and what is the turnaround like for those types? What you got with the coaches in junior college?
I can't speak for everybody else, but I've done it twice really, where you're just, and really I honestly, in some ways, I've done it 3 times now. I've done it twice in terms of when you do it a certain way, you have to change the whole thing, the culture, the deal, no matter what. And it's different. You're reloading whole new teams all the time in JUCO. That's just the way it is. But um, flipping it completely from one thing to the other, I had to do that at Southeastern Illinois, obviously, when I went in there, and when I came to Vincennes, and then really have had to do it somewhat after COVID. COVID just shut us down so much in the way that we do our business that we had to restart. Now you're not restarting from scratch because you have to rep and things you've done, but you still had to restart it. It's difficult. When you're really trying to do it with a culture like we do, in a way that we go about it, it's you have to get it right, and getting it right is hard. And some of it's a plan, some of it's some skill to it, but then there's some luck. I mean, sometimes there's a guy that's available to you that makes things happen faster. That you're able to get that's there. Sometimes they're in your area. Sometimes they kind of fall in your lap if you're working, and then sometimes it's hard to get the right guys. But you've been with us, so we're very much about the right guys, and that's not just something that we say. And that's been the key to our program. But getting that started every time is difficult. Once you've had them there, once you get the right ones, then that leads into the next group because it helps you recruit the same type of guys, and then those guys come in and learn from those older guys, and then you have a program, then you have a culture. And we've done it 3 times. It's hard, but we have to repeat teams, every year. But the changing and getting the culture right is the hard thing, particularly if you're going to do it like we do. And we know that, but we've been able to do it 3 times. It's just hard, and you got to be really kind of steadfast sometimes to make sure that you stay the course. There's a lot of things that'll try to pull you the wrong way if you're not careful.
Going back to the district, when we were added in, we were team 11. What was kind of the other coaches' reaction, or what were they saying about us coming into the district when we first came in?
Well, I'm not going to speak to somebody else's thoughts. I mean, that's not my place. I won't do that. I think there was some that probably weren't excited about it. I mean, you add a team that's going to be pretty good, and there's your tournament winner goes, and so I can understand why somebody wouldn't be excited about us getting in, but also at the same time, it was the right thing. I mean, however you looked at it, where we were and in JUCO, that was the right thing to do. And I think that even those that might not have been excited about it, with the way the JUCO was changing at the time, you went from just getting in by winning the tournament to where you got the 8 at-larges. And then it was about strength of schedules and who you played and all those type things. And then how those teams play at the tournament reflects on, your team. Like now our success and now Logan's success at the national tournament. Even Kaskaskia, the one year they got in, won a game, took a game to the horn. All those things help, and the more wins, and that the people that are in your league, it's like the teams that are in Texas have been able to get elevated because of South Plains and Howard go out and get things done, or Florida gets a rep because whoever's gone there has won. It's that type of thing. So I think adding us has probably been beneficial for everybody, but I understand why someone wouldn't have been happy. But I can't see where anybody would thought it was unfair. Where we said geographically and where it was, well, and we certainly weren't trying to get into a league and pick on somebody. We were picking the not only the best geographic, but the best competition that we could possibly play. So I don't know. I don't want to speak to individuals or how people thought about it, but I'm sure, when you're looking at that time, you're thinking about one spot. Whoever wins the tournament goes. Why would you feel great about adding, a team that's got a really good chance of winning it every year? So that's basic logic. I understand that, but at the end of the day, I think it's been beneficial.
When we talk about teams and reloading and all that, we always talk about buying into your program or any program in general. And I understand that different teams take different times. When I was there, it seemed like we bought in pretty quickly. When do you feel that time frame really is it after Thanksgiving? Is it after Christmas when teams start to go, hey, this guy is really knows what he's talking about. He's not as crazy as what we initially thought, maybe.
I don't know. It's up to the players. We try to get the right guys in here. I tell them now I don't have a lot of patience for them not buying in. We've been pretty successful. We're always really straight with them in recruiting, how this is going to go. We don't lie to them at all, and we turn down or don't offer a lot of really talented players. A lot of times more talented than what we actually offer. And we've had a track record. I mean, if you're a player, I mean, if you're coming here, number one, you're supposed to know what it was. Number two, if you're not buying in, why not? Your job's easy. The first teams I had to try to convince that maybe what we were doing was right. That's one thing. The buy-in for those guys was they had to buy in. These guys don't have to buy in. You just make a decision. That's vastly overrated. If you come to our program now, I mean, we've been to Hutch 14 times in the last 20 odd years. Nobody's done that. We've had more guys, I think, sign Division I during that last 20 years than anybody else. We probably had more guys graduate with 4-year degrees during that time than anybody else. Heck, we put as many guys in the NBA, which is not our goal, but we've had as many guys go to the NBA during that time. Most of our guys, when they go, are really successful. Whatever leg they go to, they're usually not the guy that doesn't make it. Our guys make it. So, how hard is it to buy into that? I mean, you were selected and told, you were somebody we thought would fit. What we are, how we go about our business. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to want to do it. Don't come here. This is for the people that want it. That's something that sometimes people lose sight of. This is not high school. This is, do you want it? It'd be different if we lied to somebody. We don't lie to anybody. We tell them exactly, and it's been great for the guys that want it. So we're not going to mess it up for the guys that want it. We're going to continue to do things the way we have for those guys. If you don't want it, that's fine. I mean, that you're now grown by the time you come here. You're a young man, but you're a man. You make your decision however you want to. We're going to try to be straight with you. We're not hiding anything about who or what we are. So I don't have a lot of patience for it. But when they really actually buy in, they should buy in before they're here. But when do they? I don't know. Depends, and some of it depends upon not only that player, but depends upon your leadership. A year when you got Pun Tisdale in here leading your team, you're going to buy in pretty quick. I mean, he's doing the right things most every day, and he's all about it. You don't have much room to not go that direction then. So how strong your leadership is a key thing. But it's each individual, but they don't really have any reason not to. If you didn't want to do it, don't be here. If you did, there's every reason to believe in it. Well, why wouldn't you? I mean, how really honestly now, how many guys that have really come in here and really tried and really bought in have we failed? Now, we don't promise them that we're going to do that. We just promise them we're going to give you the same opportunities we give the guys in the past. That's the only thing we'll promise you. But if you looked at the track record, you'd say, well, that's a pretty good bet. We come in here and do what we're supposed to do, the way we're supposed to do it, put all of ourselves into it. And if you don't make it, well, you probably weren't going to. Honestly, I mean, you probably, you'll know, hey, I just couldn't do it. I did everything I could, but I couldn't get it done. That's fine. You go on and with your life and go about your business of trying to be successful somewhere else. But we haven't failed a whole lot, so I would think you'd want to buy in. I don't think we usually ask them to do things that you shouldn't be doing. So to me, it's not as complicated as people make
it. You described your history of going to Hutch 14 years out of the 20 that you've been a coach. Describe Hutch to the layman who's never heard of this tournament, and how has that tournament really changed? You mentioned the only district winners winning, and now there's at-larges. But physically, and what has that week kind of changed for people who are not as into it as what you and I are?
Well, I mean, I've been fortunate that I've been part of it both ways. I think it's better the way it is now. I think it's the toughest tournament in the country at any level. And the reason I say it is because when you get to the round, it's 24 teams. You got 16 to go. Obviously, for those that don't know, there's 16 districts. Every winner goes, and then they take that large, the next 8 best, supposedly. It's subjective in some way, but you're gonna be fairly close with that. There'll be some controversy a little bit, but most of the teams that really should be there usually are. So what happens is honestly is by the time you get to the round of 16, once that round of 24 games are over, there's not many Cinderellas. Cinderella's gone. Cinderella might got to round of 24, but normally they're gone by round of 16. And so we're like, you know, in the NCAA tournament, you know, you may have a bunch of upsets by round of 16. You look up and, you know, there's the field has been watered down some. It's exciting and wonderful, but it's watered down. In JUCO, once you get that round of 16, I mean, it's brutal. I mean, it's the best teams in the country, and it is the best teams in the country. The system, the way it works, is weeded it down to that, really, most of the time. And you're playing 4 games in 5 days or 4 games in a row. I mean, we won it, and we were the 3 overall seed. We had to play 4 straight nights or 3 straight nights, the later game, turn around the next day, and then for national television, we had to turn around and play Saturday afternoon at 1:00 after playing, you know, late at night on Friday night against South Plains. I mean, it's brutal. Little preparation. It's just a grinder. You know, it's the toughest tournament there is. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care. You have, you know, mid-major plus and up talent that is supremely motivated because they're playing for their, you know, their basketball lives. You know, they're still trying to prove so they get their opportunities, their things, their deals. I mean, this is very difficult. You know, so the level is you know, pretty significant Division I level talent. It's just freshmen and sophomores, but by the end of the year, they've all come together. The best teams have, and you know, you're talking about just being in a grinder for a week. So it's brutal tournament. And from preparation standpoint, I think some teams, some coaches, and I've been at other levels. Coaches at other levels would go crazy thinking about, you know, they talk about now the turnaround of, well, we had to play on a Thursday and then we got to play on a Saturday, and you know how hard it is to prep. Hey man, do 4 days in a row against, you know, 4 top 10 teams who, you know, that's a different thing. And you know, anything go wrong, somebody sprains an ankle a little bit, you know, we've had probably 3 other times when legitimately we were a player away from maybe winning another other national title. We've had starters injured late in the season, you know, and lost in Final Four games that you look back and go, man, if those guys were here, or a call that goes against you that you just say, man, how, you know, or somebody hits a 35-footer on you, you know, when you're playing a tremendous game that swings it. So we've been through all of it. You just try to put your best foot forward, you know, have a team that can play for it, and you just jump in that grinder and try to make the best decisions and fight like heck and see if you can still be standing when it's over. That's why the most national championships won by any team in JUCO is 4. I mean, you know, no other program has more than 4 national titles. It is brutal. So, you know, we think this year we've got a team that we can really improve over the second half of the year, which you have to do. That we could be in that grinder with a chance, but you know, we're going to have to harden up to be able to handle that. It's a brutal thing, and if you got any little weakness at all, you know, it's hard to hide it over 4 days. You know, it'll catch you eventually. You know, if there's something there, if there's some area, you know, you don't have enough depth at the point, or you know, whatever it may be, it's hard to hold up under the strain of all those days in a row.
And you've mentioned a couple of different areas. You mentioned Florida, you mentioned Texas, Kansas. I always like to compare our district, the Central District, to the Big Ten when it comes to level of competition and level of success when it comes to district play and all that. Would you agree with that, or what other, you know, Division I conference would you compare us to?
Well, it may be. The difference is we won national titles. Long time since they won any national championships. So, you know, 2 of the last 4 national championships were won by our district. You know, and then last year is another example. You know, Logan wins a national championship. We're sitting right there, you know, finished in the Elite 8. Our success has been very high. You know, we go there, we're usually getting the Final Fours, Elite 8s, or winning it. You know, it's just our league has not been given enough respect because we have not got enough teams in. that's just the way it is. But in terms of the success rate of the people that are getting in, our winning and being Vincennes, or even when I was at Southeastern, if you look at our record on the national tournament floor, pretty hard to suggest that we have done a pretty good job. Um, Logan struggled a little bit early, when they were going out there getting used to doing it. But now, you win the national title last year. You get all the way to the finish. So I kind of laugh when all of these districts are going to be. You're going to look at who's the top couple teams. I mean, you talk about West Texas, and say, well, they've had great success. Well, okay, South Plains had great success. Howard had a sprinkle in there of getting across that line. I mean, you look at whoever it is, there's a couple that get it done. And I think we deserve all the same respect at this point in time because we've certainly had our couple here. And then, we know when we play these people. We've gone to the national tournament. I think we're like 13-3 all time versus the Texas schools. I mean, it's Southeastern in our place, and some of those losses were a 35-footer. The number one team, beat us the last second, or Howard beat us at Southeastern. We led them with 5 minutes to go when they won the national championship, and gave them probably their best game. And that's a couple of those 3 losses, right? So, when I hear some of the districts, and it's no disrespect to any, I don't think that anybody has a better upper tier than our district does. And I think in terms of coaching historically, now we've had some, changes over the last number of years, but historically, I think our league has coached it up as well as any. I mean, you deal with the guys in our league over the years. They can talk about whatever they want. You go and play in our league, you're seeing some really good coaches playing with different styles. And I've always said that, and I've always said that I think that's an advantage of our league, is that I think the coaching in our league historically has been excellent. And it's much more like a Division I league. It's much more like a Division I league in the style that you play. There's not a whole lot of just guys running down the floor and shooting one. You're playing against people that have been coached up now, and you put whatever value you want on that. But I think it's helped us to be prepared when we go to the national tournament. We're able to handle that because the game gets to be much more of a grind at that point in time. So I think our district deserves as much respect as just about anybody. I mean, we're certainly one of the top third. You know what I mean? If you're breaking down all the districts, we got to be in the top third. Anywhere less than that would be, I think, very disrespectful to the way we've played, the way our representatives when we've played, when we've gone out there. And but I think too, our league in the district has traditionally worried much more about district play. And I think sometimes we've not. Some people in the league have not played as well in the free as they do when they get into league play because they have. It's been a lot about coaching, and so coaching takes time, and they're more worried about the district game. So you see a different team playing sometimes in November in our league than you do in January and February. Probably true of all leagues, but I think there's really a difference in ours historically. And so I don't think people have any idea how tough it is to go win a game at Kaskasky or to win a game at Swick or to go down and beat John at Shawnee. Go up and down the list. Go win a game at Albany against Coach Clash. I mean, people don't understand the level, and some of that's because a lot of those guys don't get to go to the national tournament. They're not out there being represented. But it's just one of those deals. But I think that our success, Logan's success now, all we can do is go tell the story. I tell the story every year. I say it every year. I mean, we played Trinity Valley the first game last year, won Texas, won that side of Texas, and good team, really good team. But we saw that level inside of our league a lot. Honestly, we saw that level a lot, and I think that's. We played against a team last year. After we played them, they had seen almost no zone. We did some stuff to them, and they said we saw almost no zone all year. Well, you're not doing that in our league. In our league, you're going to see mixed defenses, presses, zones, mans, mixes inside the game, different offensive structures coming at you at all times. So you're not going to go through a season and not have to deal with different styles with guys, and they haven't just thrown it out there. They've worked on it. where they're going to do it with some pretty high level proficiency, especially in January and February. So I think that's where our league. So you can say whatever it compares, Big Ten maybe, I guess, but like I said, we've had a little bit better success in March. Maybe, and that's no knock on anybody, but the truth of the matter is, we've gotten not just success in March, we've been all the way through to where they cut that final net down. You've got 2 of the last 4. Ain't nobody else done that. So, if you're talking about what it is right now, we've been to 5 Final Fours, I think here lately. So in this world of JUCO, like I said, once you get to round of 16, how brutal it is when you're getting the Final Fours, in the Elite Eights or winning it consistently, you've had to beat the other big boys, out there on that grinding. And so, I think we match up with anybody.
And you mentioned the NBA talent that you've coached. You've coached Michael Mulder. You've coached Craig Porter. Both are in the NBA. Mike is with the G League. Craig is starting for Cleveland. But we've also seen other Division Ones have those types of players reach the NBA. I think now, Coach Davis tries to make it a list of people who have made it in the league from junior college. And one that I was looking back on when you guys made your run for the title was Chris Duarte. And now to see a few years later, he's lining up the league, and just to think he was a Southwest Florida State kid. What does that kind of mean for the junior college as a whole?
I don't know. I mean, the quality is what it is. Junior college basketball, when you're talking about the guys that are really trying to win it, if you're talking about the legitimate top 30 or 40 programs in the country, that level's awful high, man. I don't think anybody really appreciates how level it is. And like I said, I've had 3 that have played in the league. Dante Smith, when I was at Southeastern, he was like the 30th pick of the draft, and still playing professionally. He's about 40 years old. Played all over the world, made a ton of money. And then Mike and Craig, and in the case of those 3 guys, all 3 of them, they were like, no star guys coming out of high school. So you're proud of that. They weren't guys that you just had, and maybe they were in trouble, and you kept them out of trouble long enough that then they could play. We had guys there. They all developed, got better, and got a chance to go to that level. But we don't talk about that a lot. We talk about guys being good college basketball players and using this opportunity to get a degree. We think we probably do the things that are necessary as good as anybody to get you where you're ready to be a pro. I think if you look at Craig right now, I think his ability to make that transition, he's doing a lot of things that, we worked on when he was here. But, those things happen. There's going to be talented guys in our league, and they're competing and working. You never know how well guys are going to improve. And so they're inside the pile of the talent that we have in JUCO, there's going to be guys that they're going to bust through. But, I think the bigger thing is that you just see the impact of junior college basketball around the country in Division I. And I think that's going to continue. I mean, our guys are going to be recruited most of the time. If you're not in the top 250 or 300 high school kids, the junior college guys are going to be recruited now above those high school kids because, college basketball has become a game of old. They're all JUCO now. They play 1 year. The transfer portal and immediate eligibility, they do the same things as we do. There's literally zero difference. They're all putting together a new team every year. They have to learn how we've done it all the years, to be honest with you. Because that's what they're doing, and they won't old. So JUCO is going to continue to be under this new system is going to be prevalent. But what it has changed is that now without testing a lot of times for these guys to get to be qualifiers, your most players are going to be qualifiers now coming out of high school. So JUCO guys are not going to be the non-qualifiers very often. They're going to be guys in high school that didn't get what they wanted Division I wise. Well, most high school kids are not going to get what they want anymore. Whether they figured that out or not, they're not. They don't want the high school kids anything like they used to. Guys that used to go mid-major or low one out of high school now are just not getting those opportunities, 9 out of 10 times. So what JUCO is going to become now is taking those low and mids out of high school that didn't get it. They're going to have to come here, and they're going to have to get better and older and show those, D1 guys, I'm ready to come win the league now. If you're not ready to win the league now, that player can't help you win the league this year. They're not looking down the road because they know if you get a little bit better anyway, you're going to leave. So it's all about, can you win the league now? So JUCO provides an opportunity for guys to get to that level and be ready to show. And if you've been playing at the national level, and at programs where they know what's going on there, then you got a great opportunity because they look for old. It's just that simple. But you better be playing at a high level in JUCO now because they don't have to come for you for that. They can go get a transfer from another 4-year school. So you got to be at the upper echelon now, I think, of JUCO to really make that kind of impact. And you got to prove that we can play at, that high level to get those D1 guys to want you. And I think it's just changed. For us, it hasn't changed a whole lot. We won the national championship. I mean, I think we had, 8 of our top 9 or 9 of our top 10 were qualifiers. So we've always done that. We've had that here forever, and a lot of our best players, you look back, they were qualified, which is very unusual, but it's not going to be unusual going forward. That's going to be what you have to do. And so JUCO is going to have to make an adjustment, across the board. It's not going to be so much the guy that, just didn't get it done academically, but he's talented. With a lot of it not being required any testing anymore, they're going to be, mostly of them are going to be qualified if they're really that talented. So it's going to be about developing that guy that thinks he was overlooked, that, used to go low or mid out of high school, but now he's not getting those opportunities. It's going to be about how well you can develop that guy into being a mid-major plus kind of guy, because if they're not playing at least at mid-major plus level, most of the guys you're playing, on game night, you're not going to win a national championship in JUCO.
You talk about adjusting. You've had to adjust multiple times. When I was there, you were so set against social media. Now you have a Twitter account. What has been that? And then follow-up question would be, what has, the Netflix series Last Chance you've really done for junior college and the NJCAA or the California leagues out there?
Oh man, I'm not going to get too deep into those things, but I'm in love with the social media thing. I think you have to use it and be very careful. I mean, we use it to promote our program, trying to be as positive as we can, put things out there. I think players hurt themselves most of the time a lot more than they help themselves. Don't have to. It's how you use it. It's just, you got young people sometimes don't use it the way they need to. And also you sit there and listen to people, and, you need to listen to very few people. I mean, you need to find the people that know what they're talking about, and it's your decision to figure out who they are and pay attention to them, because you're going to have things said, in your ear that are not going to be right, probably 9 out of 10 times. And so I think sometimes that was my thought on that, is there's a lot of things that go outside and contrary to the team, and there's a lot of negative things can occur with it. It's obviously positive. So, at some point you have to utilize it a little bit. We've adapted to doing that, but it's all going to be in that way. But you do run the risk because, anybody can come in and say whatever they want on that stuff. So you're probably better if you didn't have it at all. And I still believe that, but we use it as positive as we can. What was the next question you had of that?
About the Netflix series, both in the football realm and in the basketball realm, Last Chance U. What has that done for that?
I'll be honest with you. We were approached a few times with that a little bit, and have no interest at all. If you want to, you do it, but we've had really good guys, man. And I think you got to sell the ability if people want to watch. And so what are you going to do? You're going to take those things and maybe even create those things a little bit to make it where it doesn't put you in the best light all the time. Now, sometimes it does, and the guys that can do that, that's great. But the idea is the last chance is true. I mean, and so that part, but some of it, I don't know. I mean, it wouldn't be what I would want. But You know, if somebody thinks better of it because of it, great. But you know, I would think that there'd be I wouldn't want my guys put in that position. You know, because you just know it's not going to turn out great. You know, there's going to be a couple that'll be looked at fairly positive, but there's going to have to be some negatives, and there's going to have to be some things that are put out there that's going to get you to watch next week. And I think in some ways those players then get put in a pretty tough light. You know, coach, we're grown men. We make a choice. We're probably not going to always be put in the best light there either for the same reasons. But you know, I think you're putting those players in a tough spot sometimes. But you know, that's just me. I mean, that doesn't mean I'm right at all. But you know, that's why we wouldn't choose to do it.
Well, Coach, like I said, you've been Hall of Famer, over 700 wins now, and I really appreciate you taking the time and sitting down doing this with me. And I know you didn't need to, didn't have to. You are so accomplished. So it is bottom of my heart that I was a part of your program for 3 years, and that you sit down with me today.
We loved having you part of the program, Justin, and we're proud. We're proud of all those guys, all those managers. We think we've had the greatest list of manager success in the history of JUCO. I'll stand by that. We'll put our guys and say, all right, where did they go? What did they do? What opportunities they have? We're going to stand with that. And starting at Vincennes when I first got there with Jacob Dunn and coming on through, there's been a great list, man. And Coach Davis did a great job with those guys over the years, and you know, we've been super proud of it. Super proud of everything you're doing, man.
Appreciate that, Coach. Thank you so much. And I will see you all in the next episode next week.